I stumbled across the post while scrolling through Reddit. It was an anonymous account on the r/relationships subreddit, where people share stories about relationships falling apart, with a title that read, "My girlfriend is 6 years older than me. She wants to get married, but after 5 years, I don't want to continue anymore. How do I break up without making a scene?" I kept rereading it. My heart pounded, like something was squeezing my chest. The comments below were filled with criticism, calling him a coward, a user. And he replied to every single one of them. "She's already 35, past her prime. No one wants to marry a woman who only buries herself in work and forgets how to enjoy life." As I was reading that, he was still here, with me, planning our upcoming wedding. My fingers scrolled down, trembling. The account used a Fortnite avatar, the favorite character of Jake Harlan. The location? A luxury condo in Manhattan, the very building we were about to move into after the wedding. I checked it 3 times. No mistake. In the living room, Jake was still sitting on the couch, leaning slightly forward, the screen's glow casting onto his face. His fingers tapped on his phone, fast, steady, cold, like he was answering a work email, not discussing how to leave the woman he no longer wanted without drama. The click-clack of the phone keyboard echoed in the quiet apartment, each tap like a small cut across my skin. Right after I refreshed the page, the post disappeared. So did the location, but the sound of his fingers typing still echoed, sharp, dry, and so real that I finally understood. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come with words. Sometimes it just takes an anonymous post and the person sitting right in front of you. The furniture installer, a tall guy in a blue company shirt, gently tapped my shoulder, his voice low, like he didn't want to break the air. "Ma'am, where would you like to place the porch swing? Inside the room or out on the balcony?" It seemed like a simple question, but I couldn't decide on my own. "Jake," I called out, trying to keep my tone neutral, "do you want the swing on the balcony or in the room?" He didn't respond. He didn't even look up. His fingers kept scrolling, the light from his phone casting a pale glow across his tense face. Maybe the comments had driven him mad. Jake gripped the phone so tightly his knuckles turned white, his lips pressed into a hard line. I waited a few seconds, then repeated the question, softer this time. "Jake, porch swing." A loud metallic clatter broke the silence. He had slammed his phone onto the table. He shouted, eyes blazing, "Can you just shut up? This piece of junk. Put it wherever the hell you want." I stood frozen. For a second, every sound in the room, the drill, the wind from the balcony, the faint background music, just vanished. All I could hear was my heartbeat, slow and heavy. The porch swing was being unwrapped from its plastic covering. Pale wood frame, steel hanging chains, the one we had spent weeks picking out. He used to say he wanted it by the window, where we could catch the morning sun and see the Manhattan lights at night. He used to say someday he'd hold me and our child on that swing, counting clouds, waiting for the sun to rise and set. Now, to him, it was just junk. I looked down at my hands. White paint stuck to my fingertips like I'd touched something already dead. Growing up, I never had a room that truly belonged to me. I learned to smile just enough, cry quietly. Everything in my life had to be permitted by someone else. And Jake knew that. He once held me and whispered into my hair, "Emma, our child will have a big room of their own, okay? If it's a girl, I want to raise a little Emma, but a happier one." I believed that. Believed it so much that when he proposed in this very condo, I cried because I thought I finally had a place to breathe, to live, to belong. And now, with that same man, in that same room, with that same swing, only his voice had changed. Instead of dreaming about family, he was there, in our future home, arguing with hundreds of strangers online. I could hear him typing, each keystroke clear. 5 years of dating, so what? There's no law against breaking up after 5 years. Women over 35 are definitely past their prime on Tinder. Just listening to her talk gives me a headache. Total corporate burnout vibe. Makes me want to puke. Even if I get bored and come back, she'll still love me anyway. Every word felt like a blade to the chest. The installer nudged again, his voice unsure. Ma'am, where should I put it? I turned back, stared at the wooden frame one more time, and said quietly, Can you help me return it? He looked surprised, but nodded. Jake finally looked up. His eyes flickered with a hint of confusion, like he didn't understand what was happening. I wanted to say something, but my throat closed up. He waved his hand, cutting me off, his voice raspy and tired. You're always like this. Asking again and again, changing the wedding plans 10 times. This whole wedding thing is exhausting, just nonsense. He shot up, grabbed the suit jacket off the chair, and stormed toward the door. As he passed the little wooden rocking horse we had made together, he kicked it. It tumbled over, one leg snapping off, the crack of wood hitting me like a slap. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving the sharp smell of fresh wood and glue burning my eyes. I stood in a room filled with wedding prep, feeling like I'd just been cut out of my own life. He said he was exhausted because he didn't want to marry me anymore. And me? I just wanted to say one thing, very softly. If you want to leave, you could have just said it. No need to toss my love onto the internet for the world to stomp on. To ease my worries, Jake had insisted on co-signing the $700,000 mortgage when we bought this condo. The deed was in my name alone. The rest I scraped from savings, and a small installment loan. The moment the door slammed shut behind him today, I called the realtor, sent in the photos, filled out the description, and marked the listing as active. While I was entering the details, my phone buzzed. An Instagram story from a coworker, a snapshot of the office, a familiar silhouette barely visible at the corner of the desk. Jake Harlan was hunched over, one hand clutching his stomach, brows furrowed. That's how he looked the first time we met too. I passed by and left a painkiller on the desk. Jake looked up, eyes glowing. Over something that small, he insisted on getting my Instagram to send a thank you transfer. And from then on, he stuck to me. That young man, bursting with energy, the type who, once in love, poured his whole heart into it, calling me, honey, my dearest Emma, always planning little surprises, or pulling late nights with me at the office. From then, the still water of my life began to ripple. But I hesitated. I wanted love that led to marriage. I was 6 years older than him. Not 2, not 3, 6. When we started dating, he was 23, a fresh-faced intern. I was 29. Now he's 29 and I'm 35. That gap wasn't about numbers. It was about how others looked at us. Whispered lunches in the pantry, the slight smirk from someone when we walked through the revolving doors together. Jake said he didn't care. He swore he'd always stay by my side. What really made me stay was the COVID lockdown. I was stuck in San Francisco. The city shrank. The streets emptied. Headlines ran red. He drove all night through a storm into a locked-down city just to find me. Both of us burning with fever, the fridge empty, only a few pills left. I drifted in and out. Every time I opened my eyes, he was there beside me. I cried, the kind of crying that doesn't stop just because you tell it to. Just like now, no matter how much I wipe, it won't go away. I held the condo sale authorization in my hand, hesitated for a second, then grabbed a box of painkillers from the drawer and drove straight to his office. Through the frosted glass, I saw Jake sitting upright, screen light casting a cold halo on his cheekbone. His voice was calm, low. It's actually simple. Just break down these financial reports along this axis. Beside him was a young woman, ponytail high, pen gliding quickly across her notebook. She let out a soft, "Oh," leaned in close. Their noses nearly touched. Her eyes sparkled with admiration, her lips slightly curled. Jake froze but didn't pull away. The tension between them was thick enough to choke on. If he hadn't caught a glimpse of me through the crack in the door, the next second might have been a kiss. I knew that girl. Sophia Bennett. Half a year ago, it was Jake himself who complained to me about her. The new intern. Got connections with upper management, he said. Aside from a shiny resume, she's useless. Ever since she became his assistant, I'd hear Jake grumble nonstop. On top of doing his own work, he had to clean up the mess she left behind. He used to say he'd request a department transfer, or fire her if she messed up again. But he never did anything, just said, out of respect for her father. One night, he buried his face into my neck, his voice tired but sweet. Emma, you're still number one, smartest and most beautiful, I believed him. Believed it so much, I didn't notice how, from that moment on, every time he mentioned the name Sophia Bennett, even if it was to complain, there was always a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. The kind of smile I once thought was only meant for me. Now I get it. I stood up straight, my voice so calm it surprised even me. You two go right ahead. Sophia flinched, face pale, eyes wide like she couldn't believe she'd just been caught. She looked over at Jake, lips trembling slightly, silently begging for help. Jake frowned, his voice low. Emma, don't make this hard for her. I let out a soft laugh. Make it hard? I was just standing in the doorway, not yelling, not throwing things, not even arguing. But in his eyes, I was the one making things difficult. He knew the line, crossed it anyway, and now he's playing the reasonable one. In that anonymous post, he wrote, "She's 35 already. Who'd still want to marry a woman like that?" Maybe he really believed it. Believed that if he let go, I'd have no one left to hold on to. Jake glanced at the box of painkillers I'd placed on the table, his tone sharp and mocking. Giving out pills like this suits little girls more. If you've got so much free time, why don't you go survey more projects and boost next quarter's performance? His voice sounded like he was in a meeting, not talking to the woman who was supposed to be his wife. Sophia lowered her head slightly, pretending to look embarrassed, fingers playing with the plastic wrapper, lips tightened to hide a smirk. I caught her gaze. It was smug, dismissive, a little victorious. I didn't say anything. I just picked up the pillbox, twisted my wrist, and tossed it straight into the trash can. The sound of plastic hitting metal echoed, dry, clean, like a period at the end of a sentence. I turned away. Got 2 steps before the sound of glass shattering, and Sophia's shrill scream rang out behind me. Somewhere along the way, whatever I did now, even silence, irritated him. When love is gone, people don't need a reason to resent you. Just breathing is enough to annoy them. I didn't argue, didn't explain. I just opened the door and let the white hallway light pour in, splitting the cold room in half. Behind me, Jake's voice was still echoing, mixed with someone cleaning up broken glass. I didn't look back. I only knew one thing. When respect is gone, love becomes nothing more than a cruel habit. And I no longer want to be anyone's habit. The condo was in downtown Manhattan, prime location. It hadn't been listed long when the realtor called to say someone wanted to see it. They walked slowly across the oak floor, ran their hands along the brushed steel railings, looked up at the pendant lights I'd carefully chosen, one by one. Are you sure you want to sell? This place. You can tell the owner really poured their heart into it. I just smiled silently, turned to the last page, and signed. The pen left a dark, steady stroke, like a cord being cut. After handing over the keys, I walked out of the condo complex. On the stone-paved courtyard, a small cat leapt from the bushes, tail curling into a question mark, before rubbing against my shoe. Muffin. Her fur slightly matted, her round golden eyes like 2 coins. I bent down and held out the back of my hand for her to sniff. No food in my pockets. I forgot. Jake never forgot. Back when we first started dating, we'd stop by this flower bed every afternoon, tear open a packet of dry food, and pour it into our palms, listening to the tiny crunching sounds. He used to joke, "Let's bring her home, yeah?" I shook my head. Raising a pet is easy, but the hard part is, when you break up, who does it belong to? Just that one question made him sulk for days, and I had to coax him over and over. One night, he rested his forehead on my shoulder, voice so earnest it was crystal clear. "If one day I ever make you sad, tell me. I'll change. And if it's still not enough, you have the right to leave me. But Emma, I'll never leave you. After we get married, we'll bring Muffin home, okay?" After that, his car trunk was always full of cat food packets. Every day after work, he'd tear one open and softly call out, "Muffin!" He said, "Cats are like people. If you feed them and treat them kindly, they'll stay. Loving someone is easy, but staying in love is hard." I stroked down Muffin's spine, listening to the gentle rumble of her purr, like a vibrating guitar string. Today was supposed to be my birthday. The plan was, today we'd finally bring Muffin home. A small gift, a home, just a little bit more, and she would have had a warm place to curl up on rainy nights. Jake once kept his promise not to say goodbye, so he made me be the one to say it first. I pulled out my phone, opened eMessage. The cursor blinked. I typed 3 words. "Let's break up." The message turned into a blue bubble, and below it, a cold gray scene. No reply. I almost forgot. For over 6 months now, every time he got mad, I had to be the one to make it right. If not, I'd get blocked on Instagram, all contact cut off. He'd suddenly go on a work trip for days, vanish without a trace. Many nights I tossed and turned, scouring every platform just to find some way to reach him. Meanwhile, he was probably on a trip with Sophia Bennett. Airports, blurry check-ins, hotel windows with coffee cups perfectly placed in the frame. These past few days, they were probably wheeling suitcases into some city somewhere. I wanted to go back to that anonymous post and leave a comment, but he'd already deleted it. I sat down on the stone steps, and Muffin jumped onto my lap, her claws pressing into the fabric, leaving 4 tiny dots. I whispered, "Maybe no one's going to feed you anymore." "I have to go too." Muffin tilted her head up, blinked, and pressed her cheek into the center of my palm. Act 6. I had been sitting too long. My legs were numb like pins and needles. When I stood up, a wave of darkness clouded my vision, and my body collapsed into a familiar pair of arms that smelled faintly of warm, woodsy cologne. "Where are you trying to go, Emma? Why hasn't anyone fed Muffin? I've still got 3 bags of cat food in the car." I thought I was hallucinating, but in Jake's eyes, there was a flash of panic before it disappeared. I pulled my hand away, reaching into my bag for the condo sale contract, but he was quicker. He grabbed my hand and placed a small gift box in my palm. Inside was an aquamarine necklace. Last month, while on a business trip to France, I had noticed that exact piece in a private collection. Even after I begged, the shop owner refused to sell. I only posted a short story on Instagram, quietly expressing regret. "Emma, I didn't forget your birthday." "But clearly you knew I was mad. Why didn't you come and make it up to me?" He looked at me, eyes filled with a kind of wounded disappointment. "Wounded? Over what?" "Jake, I didn't get to finish before his phone rang. He picked up, and within 2 sentences, his expression dropped from warm to cold gray. "Why did you suddenly submit a resignation?" I was standing right next to him, and I could still hear Sophia Bennett's whimpering voice through the speaker. "Everyone in the survey team keeps bullying me. They say I'm just your mistress, that I'm trying to ruin things between you and Emma. I know you two are getting married. How could I ever do that?" Jake took a few steps back, angling his body to block me out, his voice suddenly gentle as he comforted her. "Don't cry. I'll handle it." He hung up, then turned to me with that boardroom glass stare I'd memorized over the past 5 years. That silent judgment that said he didn't believe me, but believed her. "Emma, the survey department is under your management. I already told you. Don't make things hard for her." He spoke slowly, pronouncing every word. "You're going to the office right now, in front of everyone. You'll publicly clarify things for Sophia, and apologize to her." He gripped my wrist. I tried to pull away. He didn't listen, just shoved me into the car. The velvet box fell, and the aquamarine gem spun in a streak of sunlight before shattering beneath his heel. The sound as delicate as glass breaking in my chest. The air in the car was suffocating. The AC blasted cold, but I felt like I was choking. "The projects you're working on are almost done," he said, eyes fixed on the road. "Divide a few up so Sophia can get used to them." I sat frozen, like a salt statue, suddenly feeling like I'd been thrown into an old dream. Back when Jake was still an intern, I had a project snatched away by someone with connections, and I suffered the injustice in silence, until he took my hand and pulled me into that conference room to fight back in front of 100 eyes. "What are you afraid of?" He smiled sideways. "Worst case, we quit." No one gets to bully my Emma. He even joked that Harlan Capital belonged to his family. I didn't believe him. Only knew the biggest shareholder also had the name Harlan. But later, he still got promoted, still got access to the best resources, still co-signed that $700,000 condo loan for me. I once thought it was love, that he gave me those things out of love, but now I see it was just a plaything for someone who could have anything with a snap of his fingers. Just like our relationship, once bored or tired, it was easy to toss it aside. Now, as a department head, he could summon the entire staff just to force me to bow and apologize, all to please his assistant. I looked sideways at the face that used to be my safe place, listening to the tick-tick of the turn signal like pins tapping against my temple. Outside, Manhattan rushed by like a movie on fast forward, stoplights, billboards, silhouettes of people. And inside the car, the silence was so heavy with loss that I could hear the wings of humiliation flapping. I thought of Muffin waiting by the flower bed, the porch swing never hung, the wooden horse with a broken leg, the me of lockdown nights shivering in fear while he held me tight and promised he'd never make me sad. "Jake," I said quietly, my voice echoing like from the bottom of an empty cup, "you just crushed your own gift." He glanced down at the floor and shrugged. "I'll buy another one." That sentence dropped between us with a thud, like a short verdict. I turned my head and stared out the windshield. Some things, once broken, are done, like aquamarine glass, like trust, Act 7. Jake noticed I was sinking into silence. His hand rested on the back of mine, warm and damp. His voice softened, low and gentle. "Emma, I didn't mean anything else. After all, you and Sophia are colleagues. I just don't want things to get tense between you two. We're getting married soon. You don't have to try so hard anymore. From now on, just be my wife." I leaned my head back against the seat and closed my eyes. In my mind, the words he once wrote on Reddit echoed over and over, the same contemptuous sentences from that anonymous post looping endlessly. "Jake, if you could lie to me so calmly, then I hope you'll also enjoy the gift I've prepared for you." The Harlan Capitol building gleamed bright against the Manhattan skyline. The glass facade caught the sunlight like a thin blade, slicing into my eyes. Jake pulled me forward so fast my wrist burned. On the top floor, the conference room lights were all on, and the faces of the senior executives, people usually seen only in financial interviews, were lined up, stiff and silent, none daring to speak. At the center stood Sophia Bennett in a white office dress, eyes red and watery, looking every bit like a fragile lamb being bullied. The scene was staged so perfectly that anyone watching would believe it. No wonder Jake had dared to cause chaos across the company, stripping off every layer of moral decency he once kept in front of me. "Emma, you're really not the mistress." Sophia's trembling voice broke the silence, one hand clutching Jake's sleeve. "I just wanted to learn from him. That's why I had to spend so much time together with him. If it's causing problems for you two, I'll resign today." She said it, but her eyes shimmered with tears as she looked up at him. Hesitant, helpless, the kind of weakness that makes people want to protect her. And me, standing there in that room, looked like the evil witch from a fairy tale. Older, successful, yet painted as jealous and cruel. Jake stepped forward, shielding her behind him. Emma, our families and Sophia's have known each other for years. I only see her as a little sister. But you, encouraging your subordinates to spread lies, to slander a young girl? He stopped, looking at me with the same eyes that, 5 years ago, once said, "I love you." Now that gaze was nothing but cold disappointment. When did you become so pathetic? Pathetic? I gave a faint laugh. After 5 years together, after surviving so many battles side by side, he didn't even ask if it was true or not. Just a few tears from a girl he'd known for half a year, and he was ready to condemn me. You need to apologize to Sophia in front of the whole company, he continued. Admit that you slandered her. The secretary will record it and send the video to all departments. I clenched my fists so tight my nails dug into my skin, turning white. Even when Jake loved me most, he'd never protected me like this. Back then, when I was framed by a coworker, he was the one who took my hand, stormed into the meeting room, slammed the table, and demanded justice, not caring about the consequences. But that was before he had power. Now, with family influence behind him, he used that same power to crush me. He once said, "Don't be afraid, worst case, we'll just quit." But if I fell this time, I'd lose everything, my reputation, my career. And Sophia? She only suffered a few rumors. Yet Jake treated it like a tragedy of the century, handling it more delicately than a billion-dollar deal. I looked around. The others kept their heads down, pretending to check their phones. They all knew this was a power play, but none dared to interfere. My chest ached as if someone were squeezing my heart tight. I tried to keep my voice steady. "What about me, Jake?" He frowned slightly, confused. I met his eyes. "If the whole company, the entire financial world, hears about this, have you thought about what will happen to me?" His gaze was clouded, emotionless. Maybe he never had. He only cared that everything looked neat from the outside. Whoever got buried behind that facade didn't matter to him. "Emma," he said after a long pause, "you don't need to stress about work anymore. Just relax and be Mrs. Harlan. I'll take care of everything." I laughed. My laugh cracked through the conference room like a fracture in glass. Even now, he still thought I wanted to be Mrs. Harlan? If he truly wanted to marry me, it was only to lock me inside that condo and strip away every means of survival. A woman with no job, no name, living on his mercy, until one day, when he got bored, when Sophia or someone else appeared, I'd be nothing but an old decoration collecting dust in his house. "Jake, what am I to you, really?" I didn't argue. No tears, no defense. I just walked slowly toward the center of the room, where all the people who once were colleagues, witnesses, were waiting to see me kneel before the justice Jake had constructed. The sound of my heels echoed on the floor, steady, cold, and with every step, it felt like I was stepping on my own faith. The white light in the conference room shone down, clear, harsh, merciless. Jake reached out as if to grab me, but I pulled back before he could touch me. All he could do was sink into the chair, his face darkening, while Sophia sat just behind him, tilting her chin slightly, resting her cheek on one hand, the pink lipstick on her lips curling into a smug little smile. Her gaze felt like a thin blade, slowly slicing across my skin. I lowered my head, reached into my coat pocket, and pulled out a silver USB drive, plugging it straight into the projector. A small beep they'd pushed me to the edge, so I didn't feel the need to protect anyone's dignity anymore. My voice was steady, not shaking. "Before I apologize, I think everyone should see a few things." On screen, one video after another, one recording after another appeared. End of December. Sophia Bennett advised a low-risk client to invest in a high-risk product, causing the client to lose millions. Early February, she sent confidential documents about an upcoming IPO to a private securities firm. Blatant insider trading. Late March, she submitted incorrect numbers in a report, which was sent to long-term clients, costing the company a series of million-dollar contracts. I spoke slowly, adding nothing, just dates, times, and evidence. No drama, no emotion. Sophia started trembling, the smile freezing on her face, her hands clutching the edge of the table. The entire room fell silent. I knew many of them had heard rumors, but no one dared speak up. They all chose silence, because Sophia was Jake's girl. Jake stared at the screen, his face pale like someone had just dumped ice water over him. He whipped around to Sophia, his voice hoarse. "Sophia Bennett, is what Emma said true?" No answer. Sophia stammered, her eyes darting around. Jake shot up and slammed the table, the sound cutting through the suffocating air. "And the part about Emma slandering you? Was that true?" She dropped her head, silent. Jake's breathing was heavy, veins visible on his neck. So he hated being lied to this much. I looked at him, and in his eyes there was pure rage. And I suddenly thought, so he did have some kind of moral line. Pity he only got angry when someone else lied to him, not when he was the one doing the lying. When it came to hurting me, he never once paused to think how I felt. I gave a cold, quiet laugh. "Jake, don't you have anything you want to explain to me? Or should I start calling you Director Harlan now?" "Hey, Mr. Harlan." I paused for a beat, then lowered my voice. "But maybe none of that matters anymore." Jake bit his lip, his eyes conflicted. Guilt, confusion, uncertainty. His voice came out rough. "What do you mean it doesn't matter?" "Emma, I told you before, Harlan Capital belongs to my family. You didn't believe me, but I never tried to hide it." I looked him dead in the eye, my voice eerily calm. "Didn't you bring me here today to apologize to Sophia?" I turned to Sophia, and my eyes no longer held anger, just emptiness. "First of all, I didn't spread rumors about you. Second, you were right. You're not the mistress, because Jake and I have already broken up." The room fell into total silence. Jake froze. "What are you talking about?" He looked around, motioning for everyone to leave the conference room. The door closed behind them, leaving only the two of us, and Sophia, still trembling in the corner. I turned to walk away, but Jake grabbed my wrist hard, yanking me back into his arms. His body was shaking, his voice raspy. "Emma, please don't do this. I know you're hurt, I know I was wrong, but Sophia really tricked me. I'm sorry." I stood still, inhaling the scent of his familiar cologne, but all I felt was cold where he gripped my wrist. Something happened, and he never stopped to ask if it was his fault, just blamed someone else. That's when I realized the man I once loved so deeply was actually this irresponsible. All he had to do was listen to me once, and none of this would have happened. But he didn't. He was always so quick to feel, quick to love, and just as quick to lose interest. I looked him in the eye, unblinking. The anonymous Reddit post. 35-year-old women past their prime. Corporate burnout vibe. Even if I come back after I'm bored, she'll still love me. I paused, silent for a few seconds. Did you think I wouldn't know? Jake didn't respond. I looked at him for a long time, until I realized I didn't feel hurt anymore. Funny. Just yesterday, those words had squeezed my heart like a vice, but now I felt nothing at all. Maybe you only feel pain when you still love someone. Jake's face went pale, like all the blood had drained from his body. He reached out awkwardly, trying to pull me back, his voice hoarse. "Don't say any more. Please, Emma. I can explain." I looked at his trembling hand on my wrist and pulled away coldly. "It's not what you think," he continued. "Back then I was just—" But it was clear. He had written every word, every sentence himself. It was his tone, the way he analyzed, blamed, justified. Yet now, he couldn't even stand to hear his own words. Where was that boldness he had when he argued with strangers online? What now, Jake? When I'm no longer holding on, when you're scared of losing your right to trample me, is that when fear finally hits you? The calmer I was, the clearer I could see. The rose-colored glass of love shattered, revealing the true face of the man who once swore he'd never make me cry. I felt nothing left to hold on to. "Let's break up, Jake," I said softly. His reaction was more violent than I expected. He shouted like a man possessed, "I don't agree! I'm not breaking up with you." His voice echoed off the glass walls, filling the empty conference room. A relationship isn't something one person can just end. After all these years, you think you can just walk away? Do you even care how I feel? I stood there, looking at him, almost amused. Wasn't he the one who wrote an entire post asking how to break up without being begged to stay? And now I said one sentence, and suddenly he was the one begging not to let go. Maybe even he realized the hypocrisy. His voice softened, his eyes pleading, "I'm sorry, Emma. Everyone loses control sometimes." That post. I wrote it when I was exhausted, not thinking straight. You know how couples fight, say hurtful things, but it doesn't mean I don't love you. I shook my head slightly. He'd never understand. That post was just the final drop. For half a year, he'd been cold, distant, indifferent to what I thought or felt. I was worn out, working myself to exhaustion by day, and still coming home at night to comfort him, absorb his anger, and carry the emotional darkness he threw at me. How long can a relationship last when only one person is trying to keep it alive? And I knew the real reason. It wasn't exhaustion, it was someone else. Sophia Bennett, young, beautiful, from the same background, the same social class. He regretted choosing me. He saw me as no longer the best option, but couldn't quite let me go either. So he got stuck. Between guilt and desire, between obligation and temptation. And all that frustration, he took out on me. "Jake," I looked at him, my voice calm like still water. "You betrayed me, didn't you?" He froze. After a moment, his lips moved. "There was a time. I did feel something for Sophia." His voice softened, almost casual. "But honestly, men and women are the same. Sometimes we feel something, but I never crossed the line, so it doesn't count as betrayal." He looked straight at me, full of logic. "Emma, can you really say you'll never be drawn to another man in your life? Feeling something isn't wrong. It's only wrong if you act on it. Why do you have to be so stubborn?" I felt my stomach twist, the bitterness rising in my throat. Jake, the man who once couldn't stand me missing a single deadline, the man who loved my discipline, was now justifying betrayal with some cheap philosophy about harmless attraction. I stared at him for a long time, saying nothing, feeling only emptiness. I turned to leave, but Jake suddenly snapped, cornering me against the wall, gripping my wrist until it reddened. "Don't forget, you're 35, he hissed. "Without me, do you really think you'll find someone better?" His eyes burned, half threat, half desperation. "You're just angry now. Give it a few days, you'll calm down. I'll wait for you to come back and apologize." I looked at the man who used to mean everything to me, and realized maybe I was the one who had fed this sick confidence. I was the one who once bowed my head, who soothed, who begged, just to hold on to the shattered pieces of love. I was the one who made him believe that no matter what he did, I'd never walk away. I didn't say another word. I simply pried his fingers off my wrist, one by one. The next morning, I submitted my resignation letter internally. No explanation, no tears, just a clear, steady signature. For years, I worked day and night, saving every penny, just hoping one day I could build a warm home for myself and a child who could smile in their sleep. I didn't want my child to grow up tiptoeing through life the way I did. Maybe in Jake's eyes, all that effort was just a joke. No matter how hard I worked, it could never measure up to 1 month's pay for a maid in his family. So when he saw me every night dragging my laptop case home, dark circles under my eyes, hands trembling from cheap coffee, what did he think? Was it funny or just pathetic? I don't want to think about it anymore. I booked a trip to Big Sur. I'd dreamed of this trip for a long time, but every time I planned to go, work would cut in like a phone call that never ends. This time, I silenced the phone. My Airbnb cabin sat on a slope hugging the ocean, where the wind was salty and the old pines creaked. In the mornings, I walked to the rocky beach to listen to the waves crash. At noon, I took pottery classes at a small studio, clay sticking between my fingers. Cold at first, then warming with each breath. Sometimes I'd make flower crowns with the women from the farmer's market. In the afternoons, the neighbor kids called me Emma, chased me through lazy cattle, giggling when I clumsily climbed onto a horse. They took me up the hill to watch the sunrise, then in the evening begged to sit on the porch swing at the top. A simple wooden swing strung between two redwoods, swaying just enough for the sunset to soak the hillside in a fiery orange, like someone had spilled a can of paint across the sky. I held a little girl in my arms and suddenly realized, these dreams, I didn't need someone to go with me to make them real. I could build them on my own, and that feeling was incredible. After staying a while, life here slowed down enough that I could hear the leaves fall. I asked the elderly woman next door, "Don't you ever get tired of seeing the same view every day?" She smiled, her wrinkles folding like gentle waves. "I love this place. Every day I look at it with my whole heart, and every day I find something new. And then I fall in love with it all over again." I went quiet. So love is like that too. When you truly love something, how can it ever feel boring? And when it does, maybe it's because you've stopped looking at it with your heart. While I was learning to breathe slower, Jake was losing his mind. He ran to the condo only to find I'd sold it. He bought it back at double the price, like he was trying to buy back a moldy slice of memory. The wooden horse he once kicked and broke. He quietly glued it back together, but the crack still left a dark line, like a scar no cream could fade. The porch swing I had returned. He had a new one made, hung it in the exact spot where the sunlight used to fall. Maybe he never understood why I didn't love him anymore. Just like back then, when he blocked me, disappeared without a word, and never once thought about what that disappearance left behind. That night, Big Sur was windy. My phone rang. I didn't even realize he'd unblocked me. "Emma!" His voice sounded drained. "Muffin misses you." I leaned against the door, ocean wind slipping through the cracks, cold and direct. "She's just a stray cat, Jake." "She sees dozens of people every day. She doesn't miss me. If she misses anyone, it's probably you. You fed her most of the time." He paused, then rambled through a string of questions about litter, toys, climbing posts, food. The kind of things he used to know better than I did. He said he'd brought Muffin home, our home, made her a bed, bought 3 or 4 toy sets, installed posts in every corner. "Muffin's happy at home," he said, then paused. "Emma, could you come back? Don't you miss her?" I stared into the darkness, answering slowly. "What's the point of missing her? There are thousands of cats in the world. If I couldn't let go of each one, how miserable would my life be?" There was a long silence. Then he asked, "So, what about me, Emma? You don't need me anymore either?" That question, it sounded familiar. The day he dragged me into the boardroom and made me apologize to Sophia in front of the whole company, I asked him the exact same thing. "What about me?" And he said nothing. I closed my eyes, and the image of the porch swing on the hill came back to me, swaying gently in the evening breeze. The rough rope brushing against my warm palms, the little girl giggling by my ear. "Yes," I said, "I don't need you anymore." He regretted it. The kind of regret that comes too late, from people who only know how to cherish something once it's already turned to dust. Maybe that's just human nature. When love is tilted in their favor, they fear losing it, tread carefully with every glance. But once they know the other person truly loves them, they start to take it for granted, thinking they'll be loved forever, thinking there's no need to protect it. Jake used to be afraid I'd leave. Every time I got upset, he'd panic, scrambling to make it right. But when I really loved him, really put my faith in him, that's when he began to pull away. Only after he lost me did he begin to feel sorry. But what's the use of sorrow when it's already too late? On the day I left Big Sur, the cabin owner ran after me, handing me a small envelope saying, "Miss Emma, a man named Jake sent this for you. He's bought this cabin, said he wants to give it to you." I opened the letter. The handwriting was familiar, slightly slanted, still neat like the way he used to carefully write every line in his proposals. "I can't give you a house, but I want to give you a place to come back to." At the bottom, he'd added one more line. "I once promised to raise the little Emma all over again, to give you a room of your own, a place where you're allowed to laugh out loud when you're happy, cry hard when you're sad, and never have to live in fear again." I sat on the porch swing in front of the cabin for a long time. The ocean roared in front of me. I thought about the childhood room, the apartment I lost, all the places I once thought were home, but never truly were. This little cabin had somehow become his belated apology. But I wasn't angry anymore. I just felt an odd sense of peace. I didn't accept the cabin for myself. I signed over authority to the owner, asking him to welcome women who were going through hard times, whether in love, career, or health. As long as they needed a place to stop and rest, this cabin would be open. No fee, no questions asked. I told him, "If you can, let each person who stays here feel like they deserve to be safe, even if just for a few days." From then on, the little cabin in the woods became a refuge. People came, cried, then slept a deep, quiet sleep. In the morning, they opened the door to sunlight spilling into the kitchen, heard the waves crashing in the valley below, and started again. As for me, I kept going. I wasn't afraid of being alone anymore, and I didn't need anyone to hold my hand. I had a room of my own, not made of wood, but of peace. I looked out toward the ocean and smiled. In the end, I finally understood. Some homes aren't built from bricks and walls, but from the quiet steadiness of the soul.
You know that moment when you get uninvited from a wedding, but your fiancé still gets to be best man alongside his ex-girlfriend? Yeah. Apparently, that's what they call budget cuts in Texas suburbia. Spoiler alert, while he was busy playing happy couple with his ex in Napa Valley, I was busy making financial decisions he'd regret for years. I'm Joy Mitchell, 29 years old, marketing specialist in Austin, and the woman who just discovered that being the understanding fiancé was actually my worst career move yet. Friday morning, June 14th, 6:30 a.m. Troy Patterson, my fiancé of 8 months, boyfriend of 2 years, was already dressed, packed, and kissing my forehead like I'm his grandmother. "Baby, you're honestly not missing anything. Just boring family stuff. Mostly speeches and photos." Right. Boring family stuff where he'd spend 48 hours standing next to Astrid Winters, his college sweetheart turned just a friend. The same Astrid who somehow became maid of honor for his cousin Simone's destination wedding. And Troy? Best man. Because the universe clearly majored in irony. The text from Simone had arrived 2 weeks earlier. Tuesday afternoon, right after my client presentation. "Hey, Joy. So sorry, but we had to trim the guest list for budget reasons. Family only, basically. You understand, right? Family only. Except Troy wasn't technically family yet. But he made the cut. Me? The actual fiancé who'd helped him pick out that Tom Ford tuxedo? Expendable." I'd texted back, "Of course, no worries at all. Because here's what marketing professionals know. Never show your hand early. You smile, you wait, you strategize, then you strike when they're not looking." Troy had asked if I was okay with him still going. Over tacos at Torchy's, he'd even offered to skip it. But his eyes told a different story. He wanted to go, needed to go. And honestly, I wanted him to go too. Because my gut was screaming that I needed to see what happened when Troy thought I wasn't watching. So Friday morning, I watched him load his car, garment bag with the tuxedo I'd helped select, Dior Sauvage cologne I'd bought him for Christmas, weekend bag packed for wine country. He left at 7:20. His Uber pulled away at 7:22. By 7:30, I was alone with my coffee and a decision to make. Troy had this old MacBook. Silver 2015 model he'd replaced years ago, kept in the hall closet as backup storage. Funny thing about backup storage, people forget it's still synced to their iCloud. 8 a.m. I opened that laptop. Password 04M5. My birthday, April 15th. Almost made me feel guilty. Almost. 8:13 a.m. Messages loaded from iCloud. 8:15 a.m. First message from Astrid, dated January 3rd. Can't wait to catch up at the wedding. It's been too long, T. The thread went back 6 months. Not daily messages, but consistent. Every few days, sometimes more. Inside jokes, college memories, photos I'd never seen. Then in April, buried between casual conversation, Astrid. Honestly, I think about us sometimes. Wonder what would have happened if we'd tried harder. Troy. Same, but timing, you know. Life gets complicated. Astrid. Does it have to be? I kept scrolling. No explicit declarations, no inappropriate photos, just emotional infidelity delivered in careful, deniable doses. Every, "you get me," and "she doesn't understand," was another paper cut. May 17th. 6 weeks ago. Troy wrote, "Sometimes I think I'm with the wrong person for the right reasons. Does that make sense?" Astrid replied, "Completely. Safety isn't the same as happiness, T." There it was. My fiancé had told his ex-girlfriend that I was safe, but not happy. 9 a.m. Troy's flight took off. I watched the airplane icon cross my tracking app. American Airlines to San Francisco, then a rental car to Napa. 9:07 a.m. I opened our Wells Fargo joint account. The romantic saving for our future account we'd opened 18 months ago. Current balance, $43,000. Then I started scrolling transaction history. Something caught my eye. For 8 months straight, Troy had been making matching deposits and transfers. He'd deposit his paycheck contribution into our joint account, then immediately transfer $500 out to a separate savings account. His name only. An account I'd never heard of. Quick math. 8 months times 500 equals $4,000. Money that technically came from our shared finances, just recycled through his personal account. Half of those contributions, $2,000, came from my side of our joint deposits. I pulled up my contribution records. 18 months of deposits. My total, $21,500. Exactly half of everything in that account. 9:45 a.m. I called Wells Fargo, verified my identity, asked about withdrawal policies for joint accounts. The representative was cheerful. "Yes, ma'am. With your name on the account, you're authorized to make any transaction up to the full balance." "Just confirming," I said sweetly. "Thank you." 10:30 a.m. I drove to the Wells Fargo branch on South Lamar. Wore my blazer and nice jeans. Professional. Calm. The kind of woman who knows exactly what she's doing. The banker, Patricia, smiled when I sat down. "How can I help you?" "I need to transfer funds from my joint account to my individual Chase account." I slid my cards across her desk. $21,500. She processed it without blinking. 11 minutes total. Confirmation number appeared on the screen, then my phone. Balance transferred, $21,500. Zero remaining in joint account, $21,500. Perfectly fair, perfectly legal, perfectly mine. 11:15 a.m. Home Depot. 20 cardboard boxes, packing tape, bubble wrap. $63 total. 1 p.m. I started packing, methodically. My clothes, my books, my kitchen equipment. The throw pillows I'd bought because Troy's decorating aesthetic was frat house minimalism. Plants I'd kept alive for 2 years. Photos of my family. I left everything of his. The apartment could stay exactly how he wanted it. Boring, beige, and entirely his financial problem. 3:45 p.m. Last box loaded in my car. I stood in the living room one final time. 14 months of shared space. Sunday dinners. Movie nights. The place where I'd actually believed we were building something real. I walked to the kitchen table, pulled out a note card, wrote in neat handwriting, "Troy, since the apartment lease is solely in your name, I'm returning it entirely to you. My monthly contribution of $100 ends today. Rent is $1,250 a month. I'm confident you'll manage. Also, I withdrew my half from our joint account. Check the balance when convenient. Enjoy Napa. Joy. Propped it against the salt shaker. Left my key on top. 4 p.m. I drove to the East Side studio I'd viewed 3 months ago. Near Muller Development. Hardwood floors, big windows, tiny balcony overlooking downtown. $750 monthly. The landlord, a retired teacher named Mrs. Caldwell, met me with the lease. You said you might need it eventually. Glad I held it. I'd paid the deposit 3 months prior. Before the wedding drama. Before finding any messages. Just insurance. Because my instincts had been whispering warnings even then. 6 p.m. Unpacking in my new place, solo, free, $21,500 richer. My phone buzzed. Troy, from Napa. Just got to the hotel. This place is gorgeous. Wish you were here. I typed back, have the best time. You deserve it. Because he absolutely did deserve everything coming his way. Saturday, June 15th. While Troy was living his best rom-com life in Napa Valley, I was discovering that freedom tastes a lot like overpriced coffee from Joe's on South Congress. 9 a.m. I woke up in my new studio. Sunlight streaming through windows that were mine, in a space where nobody had secret bank accounts or ex-girlfriends on speed dial. The silence was gorgeous. No Troy humming off-key in the shower. No Troy leaving cabinets open. No Troy existing. I grabbed my phone. Troy's Instagram story from last night showed the rehearsal dinner. Long tables draped in white linen, string lights, vineyard views that screamed, "We spent your annual salary on appetizers." And there, right in the center of frame, Troy in a navy suit, Astrid in a dusty rose dress, laughing at something with their heads tilted toward each other. The caption, "Reunion vibes with the best people." I screenshot it, added it to a folder I'd started on my laptop titled, Evidence of Poor Life Choices. 10 a.m. My phone rang. Unknown Austin number. Joy, hi, this is Patricia from Wells Fargo. The banker from yesterday. Her voice had that careful, professional tone people use when delivering news. I'm calling because there was some unusual activity on your joint account this morning that I thought you should know about. Bip, my coffee stopped halfway to my mouth. Activity? Mr. Patterson attempted to make a withdrawal of $15,000 at 9 a.m. this morning, Texas time. The transaction was declined due to insufficient funds. She paused. He called our customer service line quite upset. They explained that a large withdrawal was made Friday by the other account holder, that's you, which left his requested amount unavailable. I smiled into my coffee. 9 in the morning. Troy had woken up early in Napa Valley, 7 a.m. Pacific, probably trying to pull cash before anyone noticed, maybe planning some grand gesture to impress Astrid, and discovered his safety net had vanished. I see. And the current balance? $21,500. Your withdrawal yesterday was completely legitimate. I just wanted to make sure you were aware he'd tried to access funds. Thank you, Patricia. I really appreciate you calling. Of course. Enjoy? Between us? Good for you. I hung up and laughed. Actually laughed out loud in my empty studio. Troy had tried to pull 15 grand, probably to look impressive in front of Astrid, maybe pay for some ridiculous romantic gesture, and discovered the well had run dry. 11 a.m., text from Troy. Hey, can you call me when you get a chance? Something weird with the bank? I texted back. In yoga class. Talk later? I was not in yoga class. I was at Target buying sheets that Troy had never touched, towels he'd never used, and a succulent that would outlive our relationship. 1 p.m. I met my best friend Marnie at Magnolia Cafe for lunch. Marnie's a lawyer, family law specifically, and the only person who'd known something was wrong before I did. You actually did it. She raised her mimosa. You moved out. And withdrew my half of our savings. I clinked my glass against hers. All $21,500 of it. Legally yours. Morally justified. Emotionally satisfying. Marnie grinned. So what's the plan? Just ghost him? Oh no. Ghosting is for people who owe you nothing. Troy owes me an explanation, an apology, and approximately 14 months of wasted time I'll never get back. I pulled out my phone, showed her the screenshots of messages between Troy and Astrid. I'm documenting everything. Timeline, amounts, conversations. Marnie's lawyer brain kicked in. Joint account, both names. You withdrew your exact contribution. That's airtight. Apartments in his name only. You gave written notice of departure. Messages prove emotional affair, but no grounds for him to claim anything. She looked up. Joy, you could destroy him with this. I know. I took a long sip of mimosa. I'm just deciding how public the destruction should be. 3 p.m. Back at my studio, I started building the PowerPoint. Yes, a PowerPoint. Because if you're going to blow up someone's life, you might as well do it with proper citations and slide transitions. Slide 1. Why Joy wasn't at the wedding, a presentation. Slide 2. Timeline of relationship, 2 years, engaged 8 months. Slide 3. Screenshot of Simone's budget cuts text, dated May 28th. Slide 4. Instagram photos of Troy and Astrid from the rehearsal dinner. Slides 5 through 12. Selected screenshots of Troy and Astrid's messages, January through May, with dates and timestamps. Slide 13. Bank statement showing Troy's matching deposit and transfer pattern, depositing to joint account while simultaneously moving money to private savings. Slide 14. Joint account showing my total contributions, $21,500, and withdrawal date, June 14th. Slide 15. Photo of my apartment key and goodbye note. Slide 16. Questions? I saved it. Backed it up to 3 different cloud services. This wasn't revenge. This was documentation. There's a difference. 6 p.m. Troy called. I let it go to voicemail. Joy, hey, so something weird happened with our account and I can't reach you and I'm kind of freaking out because I needed to grab some cash for wedding stuff. And it says there's only $21,000 left, but there should be 43, and the bank is saying you made a withdrawal yesterday, which doesn't make sense because you would have told me, right? Can you just call me back? I'm in the middle of wedding stuff, but this is important. Okay. Love you. Call me. The panic in his voice was absolutely delicious, like biting into a perfectly ripe peach, if that peach was flavored with karmic justice. I texted back, sorry, phone died, bank stuff is fine, everything's exactly where it should be, enjoy the wedding. 7:30 p.m. Troy's Instagram story showed the wedding ceremony. Outdoor venue, sunset lighting, Astrid and Troy standing on opposite sides of the aisle holding bouquets and looking absolutely picture perfect. His caption, honor of my life being part of this day. The comments were full of heart emojis and you two look amazing responses. Nobody mentioned me. Why would they? I wasn't there. I'd been budget cut out of existence. I screenshot those too, added them to the presentation. Slide 17. The wedding I wasn't invited to. 9 p.m. Group text from Troy's mom, Diane, to what appeared to be the entire Patterson family group chat. 43 people, including me. Diane. Beautiful ceremony. So proud of Simone and Blake. And doesn't Troy look handsome next to Astrid? They always made such a lovely pair. I stared at that message for a full minute. Troy's own mother, publicly commenting on how lovely her son looked with his ex-girlfriend. In a group chat that included me, his actual fiancé. The responses rolled in. Troy's Aunt Linda. They really do. Some people are just meant to be. Troy's cousin Marcus. Troy and Astrid back together? Did I miss something? Simone, the bride. Just good friends. But they did crush the choreographed dance at the reception, haha. Choreographed dance. My fiancé and his ex-girlfriend had a choreographed dance at a wedding I wasn't invited to, and his mother was commenting about how lovely they looked, and absolutely nobody thought this was inappropriate. I took a screenshot. Slide 18. Family group chat confirmation that nobody respected this relationship. 10:15. I poured myself a glass of wine. The cheap kind. $7 from Trader Joe's, because I was now financially independent and could buy whatever wine I wanted without Troy commenting that we should invest in better bottles. My phone buzzed. Text from Troy. Can we please talk about the bank thing? I'm worried something got hacked. Me. Nothing got hacked. We can talk when you're back. Focus on the wedding. Troy. But Joy, I needed that money. Me. Needed it for what? 3 minutes passed. Then, never mind, we'll talk Monday. I smiled. He couldn't tell me what he needed $15,000 for because whatever it was, it involved impressing people at a wedding where his fiancé had been deliberately excluded. 11 p.m. One more Instagram story from Troy. The reception. Dance floor packed. Troy and Astrid in the center, clearly mid-choreographed routine, surrounded by cheering guests. His suit jacket was off, sleeves rolled up. Astrid was laughing, head thrown back. They looked like the stars of their own movie. The song tagged in the story, "The Way You Look Tonight" by Frank Sinatra. I sat there in my new studio, in my new life, watching my fiancé dance with his ex-girlfriend to a romantic classic while his entire family cheered them on. And you know what I felt? Nothing. No tears, no heartbreak. Just cold, calculated clarity. Because here's what Troy hadn't realized yet. He'd just given me ammunition. Every Instagram story, every family group chat message, every defensive "we'll talk later" text was another nail in a coffin he didn't even know he was building. Sunday morning would bring him home to an empty apartment. Monday morning would bring him the presentation. And the following hours? Those would bring him the understanding that the safe fiancé he'd taken for granted had a very creative definition of revenge. I finished my $7 wine and started planning slide 19. Sunday, June 16th. Troy's flight was scheduled to land at Austin Bergstrom at 7 p.m. I had exactly 10 hours to finalize my masterpiece. 8 a.m. I woke up to 17 new messages in the Patterson family group chat. Apparently, the wedding reception had been quite the event. Troy's Aunt Linda posted photos. Troy and Astrid cutting the cake together as best man and maid of honor. Troy and Astrid giving a joint toast. Troy and Astrid posing with Simone and Blake under string lights. In every single photo, they looked like the couple. Simone and Blake almost seemed like background characters in Troy and Astrid's reunion special. I scrolled through the comments. Troy's Uncle Richard, beautiful couple, with a heart emoji pointed directly at a photo of Troy and Astrid. Troy's grandmother Dorothy, so wonderful to see Troy so happy. Astrid, dear, you look lovely. Not one person mentioned me. Not one person asked where I was. I'd been erased from the family narrative so completely that his grandmother was complimenting his ex-girlfriend in a group chat that included me. I screenshot everything. The presentation was now 23 slides. 9 a.m. I called Marnie. Please tell me you're not backing down, she answered. I need legal advice. Hypothetically, if someone were to share documentation of their failed relationship with their ex's family, could that be considered defamation? Is it true? Every word, every screenshot, every bank statement. Then it's not defamation, it's disclosure. You're not making false statements, you're providing facts. Marnie paused. Joy, what are you planning? Nothing illegal. Nothing unethical. Just radically honest communication. My favorite kind. Do it. 10:30 a.m. I opened the presentation again. Reviewed every slide. Checked every timestamp. Every amount, every detail. This needed to be airtight because Troy worked in finance and would absolutely try to find numerical errors to discredit everything else. Slide 24. I added the attempted withdrawal from Saturday. Screenshot of Patricia's call log with timestamp, notation of the declined $15,000 transaction at 7 a.m. Pacific Time. Slide 25. Calculation breakdown showing Troy's deposit and transfer pattern over 8 months, essentially recycling our joint contributions into his private fund while maintaining the appearance of equal partnership. The explanation was clear. Troy deposited his share into our joint account but immediately transferred $500 monthly to his secret savings. While technically his money, the pattern showed deliberate concealment and separate financial planning while claiming we were building a future together. Slide 26. Summary. Financial deception, emotional infidelity, family complicity, and really terrible event planning. 11 a.m. I drove to FedEx office on Lamar. Printed the presentation in full color. 26 pages, professional binding, 3 copies. One for me, one for my records, One for dramatic effect if needed. Total cost, $42. Worth every penny. Noon. Back at my studio, I converted the presentation to PDF. Created a shareable link. Wrote the message I'd send to the family group chat. Draft 1. Hi everyone. Since there seemed to be confusion about why I wasn't at the wedding, here's a comprehensive explanation with visual aids. Too passive. Draft 2. Hey Patterson family. Troy asked me to share our relationship update with everyone. Here's the full story. Too misleading. Draft 3. Hello. I noticed some comments about Troy and Astrid this weekend. Before rumors start, here are the facts about why I wasn't at the wedding and what's been happening in our relationship. Everything is documented with dates and sources. Professional, clear, honest, perfect. I saved the message. Didn't send it yet. Timing would be everything. 2 p.m. My phone rang. Troy, I answered. Hey, how was the wedding? It was great. Amazing. Listen, I'm at SFO waiting for my flight and I really need to know what happened with our account. Joy, there's only half the money there. Right. I withdrew my half on Friday. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then, you withdrew $21,000? $21,500, my exact contribution over 18 months. The remaining $21,500 is yours. But that was our money, for our future. I laughed. Actually laughed. Troy, I found your private savings account. The one where you've been transferring $500 every month for 8 months while depositing the same amount into our joint account. So let's not talk about our money when you've been building a separate financial future. Another silence. How did you... That's different. That was for a surprise. What surprise? A surprise breakup? A surprise new life with Astrid? What? No. Joy, you're being crazy right now. Crazy. There it was. The word men use when women catch them. I'm being factual. I withdrew my contribution. You kept yours? We're even. We're not even. I needed that money this weekend. For what? It doesn't matter. The point is, you should have talked to me first. Like you talked to me before opening a secret savings account? Or before spending 6 months emotionally reconnecting with your ex? Or before doing a choreographed dance with her at a wedding I was uninvited from? The dance was just fun. You're reading into things. Troy, your mother called Astrid lovely in the family group chat. Your grandmother complimented her. Your uncle called you two a beautiful couple. In a chat that includes me. Your actual fiancé. They didn't mean it like that. Then how did they mean it? I don't know. Look, my flight's boarding. We'll talk when I get home. Sure. See you at the apartment. I hung up before he could correct me. Before he could say, wait, are you at the apartment? Because I wanted that moment of discovery to hit him at full force. 3:30 p.m. I met Marnie at Mozart's Coffee on Lake Austin. Outdoor seating, perfect weather, celebratory atmosphere. He called you crazy, Marnie said. It wasn't a question. Took him less than 5 minutes. Classic deflection. Did you tell him about the messages? Not yet. I want him to walk into that empty apartment first. Let him sit with that reality before I show him I know everything. Marnie pulled out her phone. Okay, so legally speaking, you're completely protected. Joint account, equal access. You took your half. Apartment was his name only. You gave written notice. The messages are his own words, not obtained illegally. If he tries anything legal, he has no ground to stand on. And the family group chat? If I send the presentation there? It's a private family chat you're legitimately part of. You're sharing factual information about your own relationship. Unless you make threats or false statements, there's nothing he can do. She grinned. Joy, you built an airtight case. He's going to walk into that apartment, find you gone, realize you know everything, and have absolutely no recourse. It's beautiful. 4 p.m. I drove past our old apartment. Troy's Accord wasn't in the parking lot yet. I sat there for a moment, looking at the second-floor window. 14 months of my life in that space. 14 months of cooking dinners he barely noticed. Of cleaning messes he didn't see. Of being the safe choice while he dreamed about someone else. I pulled out my phone. Added one final slide to the presentation. Slide 27. P.S. Troy, the apartment rent is due on the 1st. It's $118.50. Good luck. 5:30 p.m. Back at my studio, I ordered Thai food from Thai Fresh. Pad CEW, spring rolls, mango sticky rice. $43. I didn't check my bank account first. Didn't calculate if I could afford it. Just ordered it. Because that's what freedom tastes like. Pad CEW without guilt. 6:45 p.m. Flight tracker showed Troy's plane had landed. I watched the little airplane icon touch down at Austin Bergstrom. Estimated arrival at the apartment. 7:30, accounting for baggage claim and traffic. 7 p.m. I poured wine, the good kind this time. $15 bottle from Whole Foods. Called myself fancy. 7:15 p.m. I opened the family group chat, read through the weekend messages again, 83 messages total. Not one person had asked about me. 7:28. My phone buzzed. Text from Troy. Where are you? He was home. He'd found the empty apartment. Me. Moved out Friday. Check the kitchen table. Troy. What do you mean moved out? Troy. Joy. What is happening? Troy. Did you really take all your stuff? Troy. Where are you staying? Troy. We need to talk right now. I turned my phone face down. Took a bite of Pad CU. Let him sit in that panic for a while. 8 p.m. 17 missed calls from Troy. 12 more texts ranging from confused to angry to pleading. The last one. I read your note. I don't understand. Can we please just talk like adults? I picked up my phone. Typed, adults don't have secret bank accounts. Adults don't emotionally cheat. Adults don't let their families disrespect their partners. Check your email and check the family group chat in about 30 seconds. I attached the PDF presentation to an email. Subject line. Your question about the bank account, sent to Troy at 8:02 p.m. Then I opened the Patterson family group chat. Posted my prepared message at 8:03 p.m. Hello. I noticed some comments about Troy and Astrid this weekend. Before rumors start, here are the facts about why I wasn't at the wedding and what's been happening in our relationship. Everything is documented with dates and sources. Attached the same PDF. 27 slides of pure, unfiltered truth. Sent. 8:04 p.m. I watched the read receipts appear. One by one. Not immediately. People were winding down their Sunday evenings, checking phones casually. But they were opening it. 8:07 p.m. My phone buzzed. Troy calling. I declined it. Text from Troy. Joy. Please don't send that to my family. Too late. Already sent. Already being read. I opened a bottle of sparkling water, toasted myself in the mirror. The presentation was out there now. Troy was reading through his own words, his own financial decisions, his own family's disrespect. And in living rooms across Austin and beyond, 43 members of the Patterson family were discovering exactly why I hadn't been at that wedding. Tomorrow morning would bring reactions. Tomorrow afternoon would bring consequences. But tonight I'd let the truth do its work while I enjoyed my $15 wine and the profound satisfaction of knowing I'd documented everything perfectly. My phone buzzed. Troy calling again. I blocked his number. Another buzz. Text from an unknown number. Probably Troy using someone else's phone. We can fix this. Me. Nothing's broken, Troy. Everything's finally exactly how it should be. I opened Instagram. Posted a photo of my new studio's balcony view with downtown Austin glowing in the background. Caption, new chapter, new view, new everything. Within minutes, comments rolled in from my friends. Heart emojis, you go girl messages, questions about what happened. And one comment from Marnie. Chapter 1 was prologue. Chapter 2 is where the magic happens. I smiled. Tomorrow, the Patterson family would wake up to their comprehensive explanation. Tomorrow, the entire social circle would start connecting dots. But tonight belonged to me and my $15 wine and the profound satisfaction of perfect timing. Revenge isn't a dish best served cold. It's a PowerPoint best served simultaneously to the source and the audience. Monday, June 17th. Judgment Day arrived with sunshine and zero mercy. 7 a.m., I woke up to notifications exploding. The Patterson family group chat had gone nuclear overnight. I opened it cautiously. After I'd sent the presentation at 8 p.m. Sunday, the messages had started slowly, people finishing dinner, putting kids to bed, finally checking their phones. But between 9 p.m. and midnight, all 43 family members had apparently read every single slide. The first wave of reactions had been time-stamped around 9:30 p.m. Sunday. Troy's cousin Marcus at 9:34 p.m. Wait, what? Simone at 9:41 p.m. Joy, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Troy told me you couldn't come because of work. Work? He'd told his cousin I'd chosen work over her wedding. Then the dam had broken around 10 p.m. Diane at 10:08 p.m. Troy Patterson, you call me immediately. Linda at 10:15 p.m. I feel sick. Joy, those messages are real? Multiple family members asking for verification, expressing shock, apologizing. And Troy had gone completely silent after his initial panicked texts to me. No responses in the family chat. No defenses. Just digital silence while his family processed 27 slides of documentation. 7:15 a.m. Monday. New messages were still coming in as family members on the East Coast woke up. Uncle Richard at 7:12 a.m. Joy, I called you and Astrid a beautiful couple in that group chat. In front of you. I'm disgusted with myself and with Troy for putting us all in that position. Aunt Linda at 7:18 a.m. The fact that Troy let his entire family disrespect Joy while he played house with his ex is unforgivable. Grandmother Dorothy at 7:23 a.m. I raised you better than this, Troy Michael Patterson. The full name from Grandma. That was serious. 7:30 a.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. Joy? This is Diane, Troy's mother. Her voice was tight. I just want you to know I've been up since 10 p.m. reading your presentation. Multiple times. I owe you an enormous apology. I had no idea he was messaging Astrid like that, or that he'd lied about why you weren't at the wedding. Diane, you didn't know. I should have known. A mother should know when her son is behaving badly. And I enabled it by commenting on how lovely he and Astrid looked, in a group chat that included you, his fiancé. She paused. I'm horrified at myself and at him. 7:45 a.m. Text from unknown number. Joy, this is Astrid. Can we talk? I stared at that message. Astrid Winters, the woman who'd spent 6 months emotionally reconnecting with my fiancé, wanted to talk. Me. Talk. Astrid. Simone just called me. Forwarded me your presentation. Joy, I had no idea Troy was still engaged. He told me you two had broken up in April. That you were just living together until the lease ended. I read that 3 times. Troy had told Astrid we'd broken up. Had told her I was essentially a roommate he was phasing out. Me. We got engaged December 20th. 8 months ago. Never broke up. Still wearing my ring when he left for your wedding. Astrid. I'm going to be sick. Joy, I swear I didn't know. The message is, we were flirting. I know that now. But he framed it like he was single and just being cautious about jumping into something new. He said his last relationship, you, had ended badly and he wanted to take things slow. Me. Did anything physical happen at the wedding? Long pause. Typing bubbles appeared and disappeared 3 times. Finally, we kissed, Saturday night after the reception. He said he'd been waiting years to do that again. He made it sound romantic. Now I know he was cheating on you. There it was. Confirmation. Troy had kissed Astrid. Had physically cheated, not just emotionally. Me. Do you have screenshots of him saying we'd broken up? That I was just a roommate? 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed. 3 screenshots. Troy telling Astrid in late April that Joy and I ended things, and we're just coexisting until I find a new place, and I'm finally free to see where this goes with us. I saved them immediately. Added them to the presentation as slides 28, 29, and 30. 8:15 a.m. I updated the PDF and posted the new version in the family group chat. Update. Additional information from Astrid confirming Troy lied to everyone involved. 3 new slides with documentation. He told Astrid we'd broken up in April while still engaged to me. 8:20 a.m. The chat exploded again. Simone at 8:22 a.m. He kissed her? At my wedding? While engaged to you? Diane at 8:24 a.m. Troy Michael Patterson, if you don't call me in the next hour, I'm booking the first flight back to Austin and we will have this conversation face to face. Marcus at 8:26 a.m. This is actually insane. Bro, you're genuinely terrible. 8:35 a.m. Troy finally responded in the group chat. This is a private matter between Joy and me. She had no right to air our relationship problems to my entire family. This is vindictive and inappropriate. I typed back immediately. You involved your entire family when you let them publicly comment on how lovely you and Astrid looked together in a group chat that included me. You involved them when you lied to Simone about why I wasn't at the wedding. You involved them when you used family events to reconnect with your ex while lying to everyone. I'm just providing the context you deliberately withheld. Diane at 8:37 a.m. She has every right, Troy. You humiliated her publicly. She's responding with facts. That's fair. 8:45 a.m. My phone rang. Marnie. Joy. Tell me you're seeing this. Front row seat to the destruction. His own mother is defending you against him. His grandmother used his full name. That's nuclear-level family disappointment, Marnie laughed. The cousin Simone just edited her Instagram wedding post. Did you see? I opened Instagram. Simone's latest post from the wedding had a new caption. Previously, best day ever with the best people. Now, best day ever. Special thanks to the bridesmaids and groomsmen who showed up with integrity and honesty. The comments were already filling up with speculation. 9 a.m. More messages flooded the family chat as West Coast relatives woke up and caught up on the overnight drama. Troy's aunt from California at 9:03 a.m. Just read all 30 slides. Troy, I'm ashamed to be related to you right now. A cousin I'd never met at 9:12 a.m. Joy, I don't know you, but you deserve so much better than this. 9:30 a.m. Troy texted from yet another number. You've made your point. Can we please talk in person? This has gone too far. Me. Nothing's gone too far. Everything is exactly as far as it needs to go. You lied to me, to Astrid, to your family, and to yourself. I'm just declining to help you hide it anymore. Troy. My own family won't talk to me. Simone blocked me on everything. My mom is threatening to fly to Austin just to yell at me in person. Me. Sounds like they're showing you the same consideration you showed me. Troy. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. I messed up. Can we move forward now? I actually laughed out loud. Move forward. Like 6 months of calculated betrayal could be erased with, I'm sorry. Me. I don't want anything from you, Troy. I already took what was mine. The money, the truth, my self-respect. You keep the apartment, the rent you can't afford alone, and the reputation you earned. 10 a.m. Email notification from Wells Fargo. Troy had requested to close the joint account. The remaining $21,500 would transfer to his individual account within 5 business days. Fine by me. That money was his. We were finally, completely even. 10:30 a.m. Marnie called again. Diane reached out to me. Troy's mom? She got my number from someone in the family chat. Asked if you needed legal representation in case Troy tries to claim you stole money or defamed him. She offered to pay for a lawyer to protect you against her own son. I sat down on my balcony. She offered to pay for my defense against Troy. She feels terrible. Said this isn't the first time Troy's done something like this. Apparently, he had a high school girlfriend he cheated on, blamed her for being too controlling when she found out. Diane believed him then. She's not making that mistake again. 11 a.m. I drove to Hopdoddy to meet Marnie for a celebratory lunch. Burgers and truffle fries felt appropriate. Check Instagram, Marnie said as soon as I sat down. Troy had posted a story. Black screen, white text. Going through a difficult time. Please respect my privacy. The replies were brutal. Friends calling him out. Respect like you respected Joy? And maybe try honesty for once. Noon. Back at my studio, I checked the family group chat one more time. Someone had created a new chat. Same 42 people. Everyone except Troy. First message from Simone. New chat. Clean slate. No liars welcome. Second message from Diane. Joy, you're always welcome at family events. Troy is not until he gets serious help and makes genuine amends. 1 p.m. Astrid posted on Instagram. Photo of herself on a hiking trail. Caption: learning to trust my instincts again. Also learning that just friends with an ex who's engaged is never just friends. Growth hurts, but ignorance hurts worse. Comments flooded in, including one from Simone. Proud of you for handling this with grace. I commented, same boat, clearer view now. Here's to better questions and honest answers. Astrid replied within minutes. Joy, I'm so sorry I didn't ask the right questions sooner. Thank you for the truth. 2 p.m. My phone buzzed. Troy, from another new number. I lost everything because of you. I stared at that text for a long moment, then typed, no, Troy. You lost everything because of your own choices. I just stopped pretending those choices didn't matter. There's a difference. Blocked, deleted, done. 3 p.m. I looked around my studio, my space, my furniture. My life rebuilt in 72 hours. No Troy, no lies, no performance of being the understanding fiancé while being systematically disrespected. My phone buzzed one last time. Message from Diane. Joy, I know this probably doesn't matter much coming from me, but you handled this with more grace and intelligence than Troy deserved. You're going to do amazing things. Thank you for not letting him get away with it. I smiled, typed back, thank you for holding him accountable. That matters more than you know. 4 p.m. I posted on Instagram. Photo of my balcony at golden hour with a glass of wine. Caption: sometimes the best revenge is just refusing to carry someone else's lies anymore. Update? Thriving. The comments came fast. Friends celebrating. People asking what happened. And buried in there, one from Marnie. To documentation, boundaries, and knowing your worth. The Holy Trinity. 5 p.m. I opened my laptop. The blog I'd been planning, Receipts and Reckonings, needed its first post. I started typing. Title: The Day I Chose Myself, A Guide to Documentation and Departure. The words flowed. Everything I'd learned. Every mistake I wouldn't repeat. Every red flag I'd ignored. Every moment I'd chosen peace over self-respect. And every single step I'd taken to reclaim both. By 6 p.m., I had 1,500 words. By 7 p.m., the post was live. By 8 p.m., it had been shared 47 times. Women I'd never met were commenting. I needed this. This is my story, too. Thank you for the roadmap. Turns out my worst relationship was becoming someone else's survival guide. Troy got Denver, therapy, and consequences he'd spent 31 years avoiding. I got a growing platform, $21,500 in savings, and the profound satisfaction of knowing I'd burned it all down with nothing but truth and perfect documentation. Seemed like a fair trade to me. 3 months later, September 20th, Austin had shifted from unbearable summer heat to that perfect fall weather where you can actually sit outside without melting. I was on my balcony with coffee, watching downtown Wake Up, when my phone buzzed. Marnie, have you seen Troy's LinkedIn? I don't follow Troy anywhere. That's kind of the point of moving on. He updated his profile. New job. New city. I opened LinkedIn despite myself. Troy Patterson's profile showed a recent update. Excited to announce I've accepted a position as Junior Financial Analyst at Denver Metro Solutions. New city, new chapter. Junior Analyst. He'd been a Senior Analyst in Austin. This was a demotion disguised as a fresh start. The comments tried to sound supportive, but I could read between the lines. Troy had torpedoed his Austin life so thoroughly that relocating to Colorado with a step backward was his only option. Denver's lovely this time of year, I told Marnie. Very far from Texas. Perfect distance. His mom commented on the post, said she's proud of him for getting help and making changes. I scrolled down. Diane had written, proud of you for doing the work, son. Therapy is hard but necessary. Keep going. So Troy had actually followed through with therapy. Interesting. Growth looked painful on him, but at least it was happening. My life, meanwhile, had become unrecognizable in the best possible way. The studio apartment I'd rushed into that frantic Friday in June turned out to be exactly what I needed. $750 monthly meant I was saving $350 compared to the $1,100 I'd been paying at Troy's place. Over 3 months, that was over $1,000 in savings just from housing alone, plus the $21,500 I'd withdrawn, still sitting in a high-yield savings account, earning interest, untouched, except for a weekend trip to New Orleans I'd taken in August. Work had exploded in the right direction. That campaign I'd been presenting when Simone uninvited me landed the client, resulted in a promotion to senior marketing strategist in July with a 15% raise. Turns out when you're not spending emotional energy managing someone else's ego, you have a lot more bandwidth for actual career advancement. The Patterson family had stayed in touch. Weirdly, Diane texted every few weeks asking how I was doing, sending articles about marketing she thought I'd find interesting, inviting me to coffee. I'd gone twice. We'd sat at Mozart's Coffee talking about everything from work to family dynamics to Troy's childhood patterns that explained so much about his adult dysfunction. I coddled him, she'd said during our second coffee. Made excuses. Let him blame others for his mistakes. I created that problem and then acted shocked when he destroyed something good. I'd told her that Troy was a grown man responsible for his own choices, but I appreciated her accountability. We'd left as something like friends. Strange how losing a fiancé could gain you an almost mother-in-law who actually respected you. Simone and I had grabbed brunch twice. She'd shown me her wedding photos, the professional ones, not the Instagram disasters, and we'd laughed about how obvious Troy and Astrid's chemistry had been in retrospect. Every single photo of them looks like an engagement shoot, she'd said. Meanwhile, Blake and I look like friends who accidentally wandered into someone else's wedding. Her marriage was solid, though. Blake turned out to be genuinely kind, funny, and the type of guy who'd driven 3 hours to return Simone's forgotten phone charger during their honeymoon, the kind of small gesture that revealed character. Troy would have told her to buy a new one. Astrid and I had developed the strangest friendship. We'd met for coffee in July. Awkward at first, then cathartic. 2 women who'd been lied to by the same man, comparing notes like scientists discovering they'd been researching the same phenomenon from different angles. He told me you were controlling, Astrid had said, that you tracked his phone and accused him of cheating constantly, made you sound paranoid. He told me you were desperate, I'd countered, that you'd been chasing him for years and he was just being polite by staying in touch. We'd stared at each other across the table at Houndstooth Coffee, then simultaneously started laughing. The projection. The manipulation, the sheer audacity of painting both of us as the problem when he was the common denominator. Astrid was seeing someone new now, a graphic designer named Marcus, not Troy's cousin, different Marcus, who she'd met at a community art event. From her Instagram, he looked like the kind of guy who brought her coffee at work and remembered her friends' names. Baseline decent human behavior that felt revolutionary after Troy. I wasn't seeing anyone. Hadn't even tried. Didn't feel like a loss, though. Felt like I was finally getting to know myself without performing for someone else's comfort. Turns out I liked my own company. I could spend entire Saturdays reading on my balcony without someone sighing dramatically about being bored. Could cook elaborate meals or eat cereal for dinner without judgment. Could make plans without checking if they conflicted with someone else's schedule. Freedom tasted like spontaneity and smelled like expensive candles I bought without guilt. The most unexpected development? I'd started that side project in August. The blog, Receipts and Reckonings, about financial literacy and emotional intelligence in relationships. How to protect yourself. How to spot red flags. How to document everything. When to walk away. It had started as therapy, writing out everything I'd learned, but other women started finding it, sharing their stories, asking questions. The blog had grown to 15,000 followers in 6 weeks. 2 literary agents had reached out about turning it into a book. A book. About my catastrophic relationship with Troy Patterson, reframed as a manual for recognizing patterns and protecting yourself. The irony was delicious. Yesterday I'd received an email. Subject line, amends. From Troy. I'd stared at it for a full minute before opening. Joy, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. My therapist suggested I write this as part of my recovery work, with no expectation of response. I was wrong. About everything. I lied to you, to Astrid, To my family, I prioritized my comfort over your dignity. I took your contributions for granted, emotional and financial. I blamed you for reacting to my actions instead of taking responsibility for those actions. You deserved honesty, respect, and partnership. I gave you none of those things. I'm sorry. Not because I want you back or because I think sorry fixes anything. Just because you deserve to hear it. I hope you're doing well. I hope you found someone who treats you the way I should have. Troy. I'd read it twice. No excuses buried in the apology. No "but you also" deflections. No requests for forgiveness or reconciliation. Just accountability. I'd written back one sentence. Thank you for saying that. I hope Denver treats you well. Then I'd deleted his email and moved on with my afternoon. Because here's what I'd learned in 3 months of reconstruction. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you give yourself. Troy's apology was nice. It changed nothing about my life except confirming that the work I'd done, the documentation, the boundaries, the walking away, had been exactly right. This morning, September 20th, I signed a lease on a 1-bedroom apartment in the same building. Upgrade from the studio. Bigger kitchen, actual bedroom, rent of $950 that I could easily afford with my new salary. Still $200 less monthly than what I'd been paying at Troy's place. Moving day was October 1st. I'd also booked a flight to Italy for November. 2 weeks. Solo travel. Rome, Florence, Venice. The trip I'd suggested to Troy last year that he'd vetoed because Europe is overrated and expensive. Turned out Europe was neither when you weren't funding someone else's secret savings account. My phone buzzed. Text from Diane. Troy told me he emailed you an apology. I didn't ask him to. Just want you to know that. Hope you're well. Me. I'm great. Really great. Tell him Denver's lucky to have him. Because I meant it. Not sarcastically. Troy was doing the work, facing consequences. Growing up at 31 because he'd finally run out of people willing to enable him. That was good. That was necessary. And it was no longer my problem or my concern. I finished my coffee, opened my laptop. The book proposal was due to agents next week. Chapter 1. The Day I Chose Myself was already written. Chapter 7. Why Documentation Saves Lives practically wrote itself. The conclusion was still being drafted, but it would be something about how the worst thing that happens to you can become the foundation for the best thing you build. My phone buzzed again. Marnie. Brunch Sunday? I have news. Me. Always. Magnolia Cafe? Marnie. Where else? 11 a.m. Bring your appetite. I'm buying mimosas to celebrate. I smiled. She'd somehow already heard about the book agents. That's what best friends do. I looked around my studio one last time. In 11 days, I'd be packing again, moving down the hall to a bigger space. In 7 weeks, I'd be in Italy. In 6 months, maybe holding a book contract. And Troy? Troy would be in Denver, starting over, learning lessons he should have learned a decade ago. The difference? I was moving forward. He was catching up. I closed my laptop, grabbed my keys. Thursday morning yoga class at Black Swan started in 30 minutes, and I'd promised myself I'd actually go this week instead of just paying for the membership. As I locked my door, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. 29 years old, single, thriving, free. Funny how the worst breakup of my life had led to the best version of myself. Turns out you don't need closure from the person who hurt you. You just need distance, documentation, and the confidence to know you made the right call. And maybe a really good PowerPoint presentation. Because revenge isn't about destruction. It's about refusing to shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. It's about taking your half of the savings account and your whole sense of self-worth and walking away while they're busy pretending everything's fine. Troy got Denver and therapy and a junior analyst position. I got Italy and a book deal and the profound peace of knowing I'd never settle for safe again. Seemed like a fair trade to me.